What's up, Starcraft fans? Today we're doing the tier list for Kill Bot Wars on Missed Opportunities. Brian, let's hear the mutation.
Missed Opportunities is the map where we have to clear out terrazine geysers for Stetmann's bots to harvest. Then we have to protect said bots from enemies. If we lose more than one bot on brutal difficulty, we lose the game. Kill bots spawn from enemy buildings. You can't fight them, but they will fight you and will deactivate after destroying a preset number of your units. Enemy heroes also disable your nearby units from attacking after destroyed.
Alright, so we have Edwin, Home, and Joni in the call with us today. How are you guys?
Yeah, good, thanks, mate. Yeah, just taking shelter from some pretty sticky heat, but it's been a pretty glorious day so far.
Okay, let me ask this again. What temperature is it where you are?
So it's about 30 degrees at the
Oh,
minute,
that's so sticky. 30 degrees, that's so sticky. It's like normal here.
Yeah, my weak British body can't deal with it.
It's fine, I'm just kidding. Okay, so Edwin, Home, how do we rank the commanders this week?
Well, there's one mutator you actually have to worry about for the rankings, really, and that's killbots.
Yes.
If you're able to produce enough units to outpace killbots, then you're good. And if you can't, then
You're evil.
The only other question is, if your ally can handle them for a little bit, can you clear the map? And
Yes.
just, shut that mutator off.
That's
So,
also a consideration.
if you're able to shut the mutator off, depending on how well you are, you're maybe going all the way up to B, but I think you have to be able to just say, yeah, I don't have to worry about them much. I can deal with the killbots directly in order to be A or S.
Yes. How about you, Joni?
Yeah, I had very, very similar. So primarily sort of looking at killbot feeding. Moment of Silence is kind of more of a skill check than anything else, I reckon. And then exactly like ET said, sort of clearing speed. If you can sort of deal with that effectively as well, you'll get ranked higher.
All right, let's begin. Abathur, where do we have him?
Abathur can do decently well against killbots later on. He has a little bit of trouble early on, but once you get up locusts and swarm hosts, you have infinite dealing with them, basically. And he can clear the map quite well because of ultimate evolutions, things like that. So he'll be able to clear the map relatively quickly. And as long as you can get up, it doesn't even take a whole lot of swarm hosts, but as long as you can get up a few swarm hosts, you'll be able to deal with the killbots pretty well. So he's not perfect, but he's quite good. I put him in A.
All right, what do you think, Joni?
Yeah, pretty similar, really. Like, I think using combination of like Evo chambers to start with for killbots.
Yes.
Getting the chamber itself and then the broodlings coming out, and then moving on to exactly like ET said, like swarm hosts, like no essence swarm hosts, so the locusts die quicker as well. Pretty good at clearing, can attack from decent range. So again, Moment of Silence, you don't even need to worry about the skill check. P2, I reckoned, and had him somewhere between A and B.
A and B. Okay, so both of you are okay with A. Let's put Abathur in A. Prestige-wise, you want the second one?
I reckon P2, but...
Yeah, you could go with just P0 as well.
No prestige is right. Okay.
You get more swarm hosts out quicker, so because you're not really too worried about the amount or the
so no prestige.
Of the swarm host is having enough.
So no prestige or second prestige. That puts Abathur in A.
Yep.
Alarak, where do we have him?
So Alarak's going to be one of those commanders, like, I think with killbots, typically you've kind of got Zerg commanders higher, and then Terran and Protoss last due to expensive units, etc. So, like, Alarak, I found had a big problem with feeding. He's got super decent clearing power, particularly with T3 with the mothership, P3 with the mothership. But at the same time, like, that clearing power is sort of diluted by the fact you're needing to divert resources into feeding. So particularly if it's like a really heavy carry where your ally's not doing a huge amount, Alarak's going to run into big problems here. I think like there is going to be a bit of a micro check as well. If you can use Alarak to keep particularly the hybrid at bay when you are clearing, then obviously Moment of Silence becomes like no issue whatsoever for you. But I had him ranked pretty low. I think using P3 is going to be pretty necessary. But I had him C to D.
C to D. What do you think, Espinome?
Yeah, I put Alarak in C. He doesn't really have any killbot mechanisms to deal with them. I mean, the closest thing you get is you can slow them down a little bit with a pylon overcharge on a building. Will make that building take a while to die.
Hmm.
But outside of probes, which are a mediocre at best killbot solution, you don't have anything. But he
Yes.
is able to clear the map decently well. So I put him in C because he could clear the map eventually, but you're not really contributing to killbots until you do that, and it's not going to be a super fast clear.
I thought you were gonna say D, but it was apparently decent. I would also say that if you're floating gas, you could probably feed some havocs, but it's still expensive. Not a great solution. But that has to be in tandem with probes if you do find yourself on feeding duty. Anyway, that's good enough for C. Both of you have them as C. Prestige-wise, you want the third one, right?
Yeah, I had pretty much the only one for clearing.
All right, let's move on. Arcturus, where do we have him?
Arcturus does have fast-producing, slightly cheaper workers. They're not that much cheaper. It's only 10 minerals off, but it's better than other folks' workers, and the troopers obviously are the 40 minerals as well. So it's like mediocre dealing with killbots.
This
It's
is
certainly not ideal
inhumane.
because you want those units to actually do something. But he is able to clear the map pretty effectively. So between being able to clear the map and being better than others at dealing with killbots, I put him in B.
B. What do you think, Joni?
Yeah, so I agree in the sense I think he can sort of feed and sort of clear. I think clearing with the SOs is kind of slower than you might want it to be, in addition to also then having to defend and having to feed as well. So I think that he seemed like a bit of a compromised commander from my point of view, and I think with that kind of thing, it's quite easy for issues to sort of snowball. I think again, like one of those ones where like the bunker drops obviously give him free troopers. So if you've got enough, like top bars stored up, then you can get access to free units to feed.
This is
Sort
inhumane.
of. But yeah, I kind of felt he was like okay, but not spectacular. So I had him B to C.
B to C. Okay, so both of you are okay with B. Let's put Arcturus in B. Artanis, where do we have him?
Artanis has kind of got not a huge amount going for him. I think the even moment of silence is going to cause him some issues on this one actually when he's pushing.
Yes.
Because I think the Tempests, because he's having to feed like probably with drones or like combination maybe of drones and overseers, you're not going to have enough resources to get Tempests out. So other than that, he's got the massive disadvantage of having Guardian Shell on everything other than P3, which is going to take the killbots even longer to kill his units. So I don't think he's like quite actively working against you. Particularly not if you use P3. But like the fact that feeding really negates any clearing power, like he's got an expensive army anyway. I think he's really struggling this week. I had him, and this is predicated really on using P3, somewhere between D and E.
D and E. Just to be clear, you do mean observers and probes, right? Not overseers and drones, because that's a Zerg thing.
Sorry, yes, sorry. Got my races mixed up there, yes.
All right. What do you think, Edwin?
Yeah, I'd agree. I put him in E tier. I mean,
E.
Dragoons, I would say, aren't going to have too much trouble with the moment of silence unless it's melee hybrid, because you do have long range. That's the one thing they've got going for them. But he really has not much going on, and for dealing with the killbots, and he's not like a great clearing commander by default. So I put him in E.
You know what? Yeah, both of you agree with E. Stop my opinion. Let's put him in E. Prestige. Oh no. Prestige recommendations for D commanders are lower. Dehaka. Where do we have him?
Dehaka is decent. He has extreme clearing. With the pack leaders and with Dehaka himself, very good at clearing. He has lings are okay. They're not great, but they're okay. for the kill bots, and if you can get out to swarm hosts, probably not creeper hosts, because you want, that halves your actual amount of locusts you're producing, unless they happen to get the evolutionary bonus. But don't count on that. Once you get out swarm hosts, they can put the kill bots back a little bit. Although not long after you really get a good contingent of swarm hosts out, you can probably have the map cleared. So he's pretty okay, but he's not stellar. I would say he's a little bit below Abathur because his swarm hosts, I think, are a little slower on the production. So I put him in B tier.
B tier. What do you think, Joni?
Yeah, I was I was watching Tutu's live stream doing this, and
He's really good, isn't he?
interestingly, I think it was absolutely remarkable. But like, I think he found pretty decisively that Dehaka P3 actually cleared quite significantly quicker for this one, and it makes a lot of sense. Like, you've got obviously two Dehakas that you can either clear or defend with. You've also got the pack leaders, which can clear lanes on their own and are also not affected at all by moment of silence. So even if you get caught by a killbot like that happens to be sort of in the same place as a group of enemies that you're trying to clear through, like, the pack leaders are not affected by that. I think, yeah, exactly like ET said, using spawn hosts specifically for the kill bots, and then looking at creeper hosts for more clearing power or more defending power is a pretty decent look. But like, still didn't, I mean, even for Tutu, like, didn't look easy. So I think probably looking at like Dehaka P3, like eight. I'd probably put him somewhere between Abathur and Arcturus, actually. So like, yeah, A to B tier.
Okay. What do you think, Edwin?
Yeah, I think I could see A, but I think B makes a lot of sense. Oh, definitely above Arcturus and B, but probably still B.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, you can, like, I mean, you get the pack leaders, one clears one base, another clears another base, another clears another base. You got the Hakas, so yeah, I could see A. I mean, if Johnny's set on A, I'm good with A, but
I'm perfectly happy with B as well. I think it's, yeah, probably
I'll
sits
go
in
B.
between.
I'm happy with anything. I'm just happy we're actually getting to do a tier list a week ahead. I'm so happy that I don't have to wait until like the very last second for the tier list. Oh my Donnie. Guys, if you want help with the tier list, send your applications. I need more. I need more people to ask and beg to the tier lists. All right. So both of you are okay with
table tier list soon,
a full round table. You know what? Let's have it. 50 people doing the tier lists. Dehaka goes in B tier. Prestige wise, you want the second one?
Second or third?
Or third.
Third.
Oh yeah, I forgot. You didn't mention third. I'm an idiot. Okay, there we go. Fenix, where do you have him?
So Fenix is a TOS commander, but like, with P2, obviously you do get the cost reduction in your units. I think the difficulty is that it's not enough. Like, they're still not free units. So
They're
I
still
think
not cheaper than workers.
Yeah, they are a lot cheaper than workers, and like, they, as you and I discussed when we did the interview, CTG, like, I am not good with Fenix at all. So this is something which I sort of haven't been able to try myself. But I was kind of like, in theory, like, Fenix has got really good clearing power. He's got like better feeding potential than other like Protoss commanders. So I kind of reckoned that a P2 Fenix would probably sit above Alarak. Was kind of how I kind of ranked him based on like not very much other sort of experience of it. So I had him sort of C to D tier, same as Alarak, but I'd probably rate him like slightly better just because I think his feeding's like a little bit better.
So what do you think, Edwin?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I mean, there is the Gigabrain P3 Infinite Free Caldalis, but I don't think that's going to work very well for feeding killbots. It's going to be very APM intensive. But in theory, there is that as well. But yeah, I think he's probably just barely better than Alarak, pretty much. So I think C makes sense.
All right, both of you have him in C. Let's put Phoenix C. By the way, for the record, I said that the units are still more expensive than workers, so workers are still your best bet to feed. Han and Horner, where do you have them?
Han and Horner have Reapers, which are the same price and build quickly as workers, but you do get the tiny little refund. It's never really felt significant to me, but it helps here. So they do have a little bit of feeding potential. Their map clearing is okay-ish with bombing platforms, but I probably wouldn't go P3 because that's
No,
maybe a little too slow.
too expensive.
And too expensive. So you have feeding. And map clearing, so I'd probably put them in C as well.
C as well. What do you think, Joni?
Yeah, I felt exactly the same. Basically, like you can sort of feed with Reapers, but at the same time, I think the difficulty you've got is you kind of need those Reapers to defend, and to a certain extent to clear as well. You can absolutely like help clearing with strike fighters. You do provide an extremely sort of minor aid to your ally with the ability to salvage too.
Yes.
So like, particularly for a commander which is poor at feeding, that's going to help a little bit, but like it's probably pretty marginal, to be honest.
35% is not marginal. It's pretty substantial. 35%.
Yeah, I mean, I think over the course of the whole game, possibly, but I think you'd be, realistically be looking to clear pretty
Yes.
promptly.
You still want to
given the
clear.
lack of feeding.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it. So with a commander that's really going to benefit from that, like you're going to be wanting to clear pretty quickly anyway. I had them actually like not too dissimilar to Arcturus, like possibly a little bit less efficient at clearing. So I had them like you'd probably want to play P1, I reckoned. Exactly like ET said, sort of P3 being too expensive.
Yes.
But yeah, probably C to D. Like
C to D.
Yeah, B to So
okay.
like again, like similar sort of place to Alarak and Phoenix. Yeah.
All right, so both of you have Hot and Horn in C. Let's put Hot and Horn in C. Prestige-wise, you want the first one because that makes the Magmites better. I actually tried Hot and Horner not too long ago, and I could clear the map at like minute, let's say 16, 17, so that's not too bad, but I haven't tried kill bots on top of that, so it might be slower if I have to feed, but I really do like how you help your ally feed with a salvage, because if one of you is feeding with salvage, that's a lot of help, but two of you feeding with salvage, that might just put you over the edge. But anyway, you decided C, let's stay in C. Karax, where do you have him?
So, like, I wasn't quite sure, like, exactly how, like, whether Karax was the one commander this week which like actively helped Daemon. I suspect probably not quite, but like his unity barrier slows killbot clearing to such an extent that unless you wanted to try P1, which I just don't see being a sensible idea, like I think it's just going to be a bit of a sufferfest with Karax this week, if I'm honest. I think you might want to look at playing P2. I've kind of put a question mark by it because I just think he doesn't really have any decent options, if I'm completely honest. Like, I think his clearing is going to be pretty slow. His feeding's going to be pretty non-existent. Like, I think pretty similar to Artanis overall. Like, I sort of couldn't find any videos of this, so I wasn't sure whether it was doable or not. But like, to what extent P1 you might be able to actually like just stall killbots sort of while you were defending and just like feed them really slowly, but you've still then got the problem of just not being able to clear, like having nothing to clear with at all. So yeah, I don't really see many like good options for Karax this week. I had him in pretty firmly in E.
Okay. What do you think, Edwin?
Yeah, I think E makes sense. Karax, in a lot of weeks, the thing is like, well, top bars don't care about the mutation, right? But this is one of the ones where it's like, well, top bars actually care a lot about the mutation. because they can't actually do anything against the Killbots at all. So yeah, I mean you're probe feeding, but your probes are getting repair beamed and unity barriered, and so it takes longer. But yeah, I think E makes sense.
All right, both of you have an E. Let's put Karax in E. One thing that I think will help for Karax is with Super Chrono, you can just get workers out a lot faster, so you don't need to build next to a Nexus. And also, you can also feed Observers. Observers are not very mineral intensive, so you can just sink your money into that. And also, since you're going top bars anyway, you want to use your Observers to provide vision for top bars. Anyway, both of you have Karax in E. Let's put Karax in E. Kerrigan, where do you have him?
Kerrigan is one of the more struggling Zerg commanders, but she's still pretty good because 25 mineral unit, or well, 50 minerals for 2 units. With Zerglings are pretty good for feeding, and then Kerrigan herself can pretty much solo the map as long as you're able to feed the killbots. She's not as free as some other ones that are coming soon to a tier list near you, but I had her in B tier.
B tier. What do you think, Joni?
So I had her a little bit higher than that actually. I think that, like exactly as ET said, like Kerrigan herself, seriously powerful commander. Probably you want to play either P0 or P3. So you've got full strength immolation wave. And I kind of reckon probably P3 better because you've also then got the enhanced
Money wave.
mineral drops. Yeah. So really helping both you and your ally with feeding. I think she does have quite a lot of feeding potential, actually. I think she's got Lings. Later game, you've also got Broodlords that you can target your own Omega Worms with to get the...
Smart.
To get... say again, sorry?
Smart.
Yeah, I think you can get the the Broodlings out early, and then also you can also just spam Omega Worms to like hold up kill bots. They are a free unit to an extent, despite the fact they've got a decent cooldown on them. So I think pumping resources into Omega Worms potentially a really good stalling strategy for the late game while Kerrigan herself is clearing the map. So I think she's actually got quite a lot to work with. I had her in A tier.
A tier. What do you think, Edwin?
Yeah, I mean, I had her at top of B tier. It was one of those. I was going back and forth a little bit, so I'm fine with A tier. I think that makes sense with the Broodlords and everything. I tried to solo it with her, and it was a little rough trying to get up to like that. You're spending a lot of money on just Lings, but
yeah.
I think if you do make it through the first 10 minutes, you'll probably be good. So,
okay.
I think A tier is fine.
Both of you are okay with A tier? Let's put Kerrigan in A tier. Prestige-wise, no prestige or third prestige?
Yeah,
but
you could probably go. You could probably go P2 as well, just to enhance Kerrigan since you are clearing the whole map with her. But the extra money from P3 is good as well.
All right. So no prestige, second prestige, or third prestige, but probably less so the second prestige. You want a really powerful immobilization wave. Anyway, Nova, where do you have him?
So Nova is an interesting one. Like I think you'd want P3 for quick clearing, and I think her feeding is going to be as good if not worse than a lot of Terran commanders because you like basically SCVs is your only option. Like I guess you could use Raven turrets if you really got into a corner. But like yeah, sort of yeah. So like but I think she can clear the map pretty quickly using her units to defend basically. Like I think having said all of that, I think all of that is going to be like mechanically pretty hard work basically. Like to the extent that I haven't bothered to try it because I just would fail. But I think so for all of the fact that I've got no doubt that it's extremely doable for a better player than me. Like I had her sort of B to C because I think the mechanical demands of actually doing all of that is just like really, really significant.
You're not wrong about that, but what do you think, Edwin?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like you could technically use spider mines, things like that, but
I don't think spider mines count toward the kill bot kills.
No,
They don't.
Spider-Mines
Well,
don't.
there you
No.
go. Yeah. I had her in C tier. I think, obviously you can clear the map with Nova, but she's not like the fastest clearer in the West necessarily. She's not slow, but she's not super fast. And yeah, I mean, the actual feeding is going to be pretty tough. So yeah, C tier.
Okay, both of you have C. Let's put Nova in C. Raynor, where do we have him?
Raynor does have relatively cheap units, and he has mules, which can get him a lot of money to make a lot of those relatively cheap units. So he's solid at feeding. He's really quite decent, but his feeding more than other commanders is going to really kind of impede his power level in terms of actually playing the rest of the map. So I
Yes.
wouldn't say he's perfect by any means. So I had him in A tier.
A tier. What do you think, Joni?
I had him quite a bit lower than that actually. Like I felt that exactly like ET said, like he can feed, and because you've got mules, he is not getting bad value. Like his economy is less likely to drop off. But actually, the production involved to get that feeding done,
Yeah, takes a
like
while.
I think he's gonna. Yeah, I think he's going to struggle like moving later on into the game as well. Like by the time you hit the sort of 20 into 25-minute mark, if you haven't cleared the map by that point, which if you're feeding with Raynor, I don't think you will. Like that's the point at which the kill bots become kind of pretty overwhelming for a commander like him in terms of getting that production out in time to be feeding them. Because I think you're feeding 60 a minute at that stage. So I reckon for Raynor, sort of using top bars primarily to clear with. But like I kind of reckoned he was going to run out of steam at some point, so I had you probably wanting to use P0 as the only commander, as the only like prestige which is not in some way economically disadvantaged. But I had him again like C to D tier.
What do you think, Edwin?
I don't think he's as bad as. I mean, you're putting him at or below Nova, who has like no feeding. I mean, it's the maybe you'll run out of steam versus there was no steam in the first place. Um,
Yeah,
I
I
could
think
see high C or B, but yeah, I mean C's fine with me, I guess, but
I'd
definitely
be
not.
yeah.
B, I don't
I've sort
think.
of been ranking pessimistically, so I'm super happy to like compromise like B or C.
I
Like I
think
think
I think Joni was ranking Raynor as C, not based on feeding, which he did say he can do, but based on clearing while feeding. Nova can just clear on her own. Pretty much no problem. Raynor will struggle with clearing and defending if he's also feeding.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess. I think for me, it's like, well, assuming you're playing with a teammate, the one thing the teammate's going to be better at usually is the non-mutation related stuff. So if you're able to deal with the killbots and do some of the work there, which I think Raynor will be able to do some of the work there, that's better than like, yeah, I can clear everything, but I have to rely on whoever I'm getting queued with to feed properly. Was kind of my philosophy on that. But I'm fine with C tier. I think that's
yeah.
fine.
Okay.
I can definitely see Raynor being pretty similar to Nova, particularly if you were looking to solo. Like, I think that the kind of mechanical problems are going to be the same.
All right.
Yeah, I think soloing is a different story for Raynor. I think he's
Absolutely.
like F
By the way,
F tier solo. But yeah.
By the way, I'm just speaking from my experience. I don't know about what you two guys experience, but every time I play a Killbot Mutation on the solo queue, I usually get teamed up with one of the two S tiers. You know who the two S tiers are, right?
Yeah.
I get teamed with one of them every time I play a Killbot
That's
Mutation on the
fair.
solo queue. So I think they get the plot at least, and they're very good.
That's
at it.
fair. But
Yeah.
if they're the S tier, then all you need to do is worry about clearing, and if you're not having to feed killbots, then Raynor's going to do just fine. Again,
Yeah.
right?
That's also fair. That's a good point, actually. Anyway, let's move on. Stetboy, where do we have him?
So, like, I've got Stetmann ranked really highly in this. Like, he's got great feeding, Lings, Infestors, like particularly with Lings, and I think this applies to pretty much all the Ling commanders, but not getting the hardened carapace upgrade until significantly later, so that your Lings are like one shot kill. I think for the death bots onwards, obviously like P2 Super Gary or Super Duper Gary, like using him to just smash through positions, etc. he can defend and clear. Obviously, not at the same time, but he's so efficient at both that neither is a problem for him. And then transitioning into infestors later on in the game, like yes, they're pretty resource intensive, and yes, they will be activated later in the game. So, but I think he's got such a decent toolkit to work with. I had P2 Stetmann from S to A tier.
What do you think, Mahome?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely I don't know that I'd put him in S because there's people who are a lot better, which maybe that's just double S. But I think obviously you get the same lings Kerrigan gets, except you get refunded lings that
It's
Kerrigan
cheaper.
doesn't get. And yeah, so they end up being cheaper, and you do get infestors. You also just get mecha battle carrier lords as well if you want to go for that with broodlings similar to Kerrigan. And then yeah, Gary can just solo everything, everything that ever was and is and will be. So I think I don't know if I put him quite an S, but I definitely A, I think.
Okay, so here's how this works, Joni. If it's not unanimous, it's not S. So if you can convince Edwin Home to put Stetboy in S, we'll do it. But if you can't, he's staying in A.
I'm super happy with him being top of A as well. Like I was sort of on the fence about it. Like so, yeah, I'm perfectly happy with that.
All right, you're not gonna mount a defense. So Stetboy goes down to A. Let's move on. Stukov, S tier. Let's move on. No, just kidding. Where do you have him?
Yeah, Stukov. Yeah, this is one of the two to where it's like, well, this is why Stetmann isn't really quite S tier for me. Stukov gets mass broodlings with his top bars. He then gets into bunkers, which just produce endless free units. The infested colonist compound eventually starts producing 64 free units every 2 minutes. So you have infinite free units. You're perfect against kill bots. Your units can just walk past the kill bots and still do their thing. You don't have to even with some of the other commanders like Zerglings, it's like, yeah, I have to split off and click my Zerglings onto the kill bots. With Stukov, you can kind of just parade past them and they'll kill things as they kill them and then they'll die. You don't have to worry about them much at all. So Stukov, super free and easy S tier.
Super free and easy S tier. What do you think, Joni?
Yeah, pretty much says it all, really, doesn't it? It's like you're producing so much by the end of it that you don't even need to full clear with Stukov. Like you've just got such volume of units. The only caveat is, and like this isn't a caveat based on the commander himself, it's based on my lack of ability, is that like I tried this against a Protoss air comp and the start was super rough. Like but again, like I say, that I know for a fact that's me, not the commander. But like yeah, as soon as you reach critical mass, like you are laughing. I suspect critical mass is possibly just a little bit higher against an air comp. But yeah, no question. P3 S tier.
All right, both of you have Stukov in S tier. Let's put Stukov in S tier. Swann, where do we have him?
So yeah, again, I think Swann is like I had him sort of not dissimilar to Karax really on this one. I think he's got some pretty massive issues basically. Like he doesn't feed particularly well. He also doesn't have access like Raynor. Like doesn't have access to sort of cheap marine units and stuff like that, and also doesn't have the sort of eco provided by mules. So actually, I think Swann's like not great feeding, also not great pushing. And Swann also has that sort of thing of like push, like if you were to play Swann in a manner whereby he can clear really quickly, and you're completely sacrificing your ability to feed. So it's like very much a sort of one completely nukes your ability to do the other. I had some like odd queries that I didn't have time to test on this one. Like, does P1 drill splash
Yes.
slow kill bots if you trap it near enough? Like, if you trap it near enough to an enemy comp as you're sort of pushing. But like, I think all in all, Swann is weak enough that queries like that are pretty academic. Like they're not gonna bump him up in the rankings much. Yeah, I literally have like no idea what prestige you've used, but I've also ranked him low enough that I don't think it matters. I've got him like D2E.
Okay. What do you think, Edhelme?
Yeah, I think he's basically just Karax, but a little. Well, I don't know if he's better or worse. He's Karax. He's very similar to Karax. I had him in E tier. There's not a lot to say. Yeah, there's just no. He doesn't even have observers like Karax does, right?
That's
And science
fair.
vessels are a slightly more expensive feed than
That's fair.
observers are.
All right.
So
And they
yeah,
heal
I
each
mean,
other.
yeah,
It slows things down.
yeah, slows things down. So I'd put him in E tier.
Okay, so both of you have Swann and E. Let's put Swann and E. For the record, Anne Callaghan played Swann, and he's magnificent as usual. And what he did is he just went to first prestige, and he fed workers. Like, he was clearing using the laser drill, and he just had factories to provide vision. So he was clearing and defending using the laser drill. Of course, I was helping, so that's why it went as easily as it did. But he was just feeding. He didn't have any units until like after the map was fully cleared. That's when he started producing wraiths. But before that, he just made almost exclusively workers, and he was just using the laser drill to attack and defend at the same time. He's a pretty good player. Anyway, so both of you have Swann and E. Let's put Swann and E. Tychus, where do we have him?
Tychus is another one that doesn't really have great feeding. It's SCV town. I mean, I guess you have serious turrets and you can steal units as Vega, but that's not really reliable or effective. So he's obviously going to be great at clearing, but
I
other
think he
than
can also
that, he's
feed.
not going to do much for feeding.
I think he can also feed.
Say what?
I think he can also feed rattlesnake revitalizers.
Oh, yep. Well, there. Okay, S tier. No, I had him in. I had him in. He's in. I had him in C tier, but I could see B tier because he does clear really well, but he just doesn't do like any feeding at all. Because if you feed at all, then now you can't afford your third merc, and then you're clearing much slower, and things like that. So, I had him in C tier.
Okay. What do you think, Joni?
Yeah, very similar. Like, I think sort of feeding and powering up at the same time is an issue. And obviously, if you mechanically don't clear quickly enough, like you're going to cap out your ability to feed, and then you're literally just going to die by the time you get your fifth merc out. So, like, I think there are issues here. Having said that, he obviously clears, probably as quickly, if not quicker than most. I had him basically playing very similar to Nova P3, but less mechanically complicated to use, and with like significantly better ability to defend at the same time. So I had him like probably wanting to use P2, and pretty much exactly the same as ET, like B to C tier. I would probably, I think, based on the fact that feeding is such a problem for him, I'd probably go towards top of C tier as opposed to bottom of B. I think that like the two in B at the minute are better than him.
Okay. So both of you put Tychus in C tier. So let's have it. Let's make it so. Vorazun, where do you have him?
Yeah, so Vorazun is yet another one, like effectively sort of Protoss commander who is going to have massive issues with feeding. Again, as with a lot of these, she's got like little bits and bobs that she can feed with, like status wards that you can feed with, but at the same time, obviously, actually getting the oracles out, getting the energy to do that, etc., is just going to take you a while to even get there. So you're probably better off just going with probes. She's going to clear pretty quickly and pretty efficiently, particularly with time stop and shadow guard. At the same time, like your time stop's not delaying the killbot spawn timings. So I think certainly there is potential for a situation where like you're using time stop with P3 pretty regularly, and actually those killbot waves are like stacking up due to her lack of like decent feeding. So I think you could end up in problems there. She's going to have the like the normal Vorazun problems against air as well, which particularly when you're like Dark Templar reliant in terms of trying to clear quickly are going to be a problem also. So like I kind of basically didn't see many decent options for her. I had her like she's probably better than the 3 in E tier, but like I had her sort of probably D based on the other commanders and how we've put them here.
Okay. What do you think, Edmund?
Yeah, I really wish they'd made it so that Confuse worked on the killbots and they could kill Amon's units. That would have been sick. But without that, it's going to be a bit of a rough time. Not a particularly great clearer. I mean, you do have time stop, which can help. But if you're feeding it all, then you're just not going to have an army. So everything freezes for 20 seconds and then unpauses and nothing's happened. So yeah, I mean, I'd probably put her. Where did I have her? I had her in D tier because we needed to bridge the gap.
Not quite E, but pretty close. I think I also agree. That's where I would put her. Also, one more thing. You did mention, Joni, that this is the thing I forgot, by the way. You did mention that you can feed using stasis. I played as Vorazun, by the way, in the game with Ankalagan. He plays Swann, I plays Vorazun. So he did feed with CVs, and I fed with workers. And I totally forgot that you could totally feed with stasis wards. But I did remember now that you can mess up the feeding with stasis wards. If the killbot gets aggroed by something else, he will just walk through the stasis wards and just activate them all, wasting all that energy, making you very sad. So, yes, it's an option, but not even if you told me that as an option, I would not bother. I mean, you can't bother if you're really good and if you wanted to prove a point. I do not want to prove a point with Vorazun of all people, so I will not do that. But you can if you want to. Anyway, both of you agree with D. Let's put Vorazun in D. By the way, the time stop does clear so much, especially if you use the third prestige. It does clear a lot, but you still need a lot of help with feeding. Zagara, S tier. Let's move on. No, where do you have him?
Yeah, I get all the easy ones. Yeah, Zagara. I mean, mass lings. You get P1, 4 lings a pop, and you're just it's easy breezy city. It's you're stronger throughout the game than Stukov overall because your early game is better, I'd say. Stukov, once he hits his peak, is probably easier, but Zagara is just pretty smooth sailing from the very beginning. So, I mean, you even get free Banelings if you needed to use those that split out into smaller Banelings for the killbots. Not that you probably will end up needing that, but it's there. So yeah, S tier for Zagara. Oh, and I mean, you can just so it's mentioned, you can use bio launchers on the enemy wave.
All right, you can absolutely do that. By the way, what do you think, Joni?
Yeah, I've pretty similar opinion. Really, like very strong. Nowhere near the same like level of ramp that Stukov has. So she's just strong from the very start. Like, clears much faster than Stukov as well.
Yes.
So like, I think you do have the danger. I think with P1 that like if you are simply F2ing, you're going to run out of steam. Like she does. You know, there absolutely is potential here to run out of steam before you full cleared. But again, that is a mechanical thing, not a commander issue. Like she is perfectly capable of soloing this pretty simply. So yeah, I had her like S tier.
All right, both of you have Zagara in S. Prestige wise, first one, right? Has to be the first one.
Yeah, all the free units.
All the free units.
All free Banelings, extra ling.
By the way,
that, so.
She also camps much more easily than Stukov. With Stukov, you have to camp by smartly putting all your bunkers and putting the psi emitter in the spot where all the infested will just cover all of the spots where the enemies will spawn. Whereas Zagara, you just put Banelings and Scourge where the enemies will spawn and just, make them not a thing. Like that. So she's even better at camping than Stukov is. Anyway, Zeratul, where do you have him?
I think Zeratul is going to want to go P3 this week. Like I don't think that certainly his cannon shades, as far as I'm aware, don't count towards killbot feeding. So he's not really getting any assistance with what is already very standard sort of Protoss feeding. He is getting slightly cheaper observers. Which again, from my point of view, is another reason to potentially avoid P2, despite the fact this is quite a long map. I think you're going to want to go for the efficient clear rather than the long game on this. Basically, the way I saw it was you'd want to produce lots of Nexi, lots of Robos, and basically be punching out workers and observers as at a rate of knots whilst using Zeratul to clear the map, basically. And then you can, pick your poison of combination of legions, cannons to defend, etc. But again, it's going to be economically pretty a bit of a balancing act, basically. But I think you do want P3 for the real pushing power of the hero there. I had him B to C.
Okay. What do you think at Bahama?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you don't want the more expensive units so much, although you're probably going to be making very few of them anyways because you're going to be feeding all of your minerals into probes. And completely free supply observers are a
Yes.
thing, but they're, you're not going to have a lot of gas for anything else. But I mean, if Zeratul can kind of do everything by himself, so
You can.
observers and probes, and yeah, I mean, I don't think he's going to be beautifully amazing, but I had him in C tier.
Are you gonna? What do you think, Joni, about C tier?
Um, I th- I think he is I, like I think he does have options in terms of feeding. Like his feeding option is, I would say, nearer the best of most of the TOS commanders, but I think his clearing is so much better and also so much more straightforward. I'd be kind of more inclined to put him at the bottom of B tier, but again, I mean, not going to lose too much sleep over one or the other, to be honest.
Okay, so that's an okay. That's a C is okay for me. So let's put Zeratul in C. All right. So those are the guys in the tier lists. Do we have a double S? All right.
I mean, yeah, it's not that you're completely ignoring the mutation; it's that it's extremely easy, right? You still do have to, as Zagara, you have to split off units to the killbots. As Stukov, the early game's a little more annoying because of killbots, but
Yeah.
I'd
Yeah,
say
I
no
don't think
double S.
either of them I think they trivialize it, or so not trivialize it. They normally, but they don't trivialize it completely. Yeah.
All right. So who's top of S?
Probably, I mean, I feel like most people are going to have an easier time with Stukov because of
I kind of agree. Yeah, I kind of agree
yeah.
with that. I think Zagara, you're much more prone to falling off, whereas Stukov, once you get there, like if you get to critical mass, then you're off to the races.
Okay.
And the I mean the early game, I think with most comps, the early game is still pretty free with Stukov because you do have Broodling Infest, and if you have the mastery points into
It's
that,
true.
that's one
It's
every
so
45
free.
seconds. That's enough to deal with all the
Yeah.
killbot waves early on, basically.
All right.
And then your actual top bars can do the clearing and everything in the early game. So I'd say yeah, Stukov.
All right. Then
Yeah.
Zagara and second in S. Or yeah, second in S. Who's top of A?
I would say
Um,
Stetmann because I had him in borderline S tier anyway.
yeah, I think Stetmann, and then probably Kerrigan, because Kerrigan has Zerglings that Abathur doesn't have for the early game. Once you get up to Broodlord slash Swarmhost, I think it's pretty equal, but I think Kerrigan's going to have a slightly better feed in the early game. So
Carrot is
Yeah.
blonder than Nova this week.
yeah, well, poor Johnny has no idea what you're talking about.
Then who's top of B tier?
I think it's definitely Dehaka.
Dehaka. Okay.
Yeah.
Dehaka is blonder than Arcturus. Who's top of C tier?
I'd
I
say
can tell
probably
you.
Zeratul.
Yeah, I think Zeratul's fine there. I can tell you who's bottom is the Protosses. We can probably move those over, I think.
Yeah.
Although, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, I think Tychus is probably better than them. I think Tychus goes. Let's see, who's second?
Han
I
and Horner
think
has
it's
to
I'd
be
say
second.
probably
No, Han and
yeah,
Horner
Tychus
has
Han
to
and
be
probably better
second.
Horner.
than Nova.
Han and Horner. Nova has really good clearing, no feed. Raynor's like the reverse, and then Tychus probably. I think that's a good C
Han and
right
Horner
there.
has
I think
feed and clear. I would almost argue for
that's
it
what
to
I
be in
mean.
B
Yes. I'm
tier.
not arguing with.
Yeah.
I was thinking about third, fourth, and fifth. I think we're good. I think C
But
tier looks good there.
Correctly
I'd be
ordered.
inclined to put Tychus above Nova and Raynor because I think although his feeding
That's
is
fine.
just as bad as Nova's, but his clearing's better, I would say.
That's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
And D tier, I don't
Who's
really know. I have no idea. But E tier,
who's the blondest in E tier?
I don't know. They're all
I genuinely
terrible.
wonder: does Alarak belong in the same tier as Zeratul, or is he? I'm wondering whether he is D tier instead. Like he doesn't seem as good
Um,
as.
I mean, I feel like he's a good bit better than Vorazun.
Boris is like,
he's like
join me.
he's at the opposite end. He's at the far end of C. I would probably actually put him below Phoenix, I think, because
All right.
Phoenix does have. No, I don't know why. I'm just going with it. I guess he has observers, right? So they're a little cheaper than Havocs.
A little cheaper.
That's the only real difference. E tier, I mean, I think they're all kind of equally bad. It's just like, yeah, I don't really have any extra feeding potential beyond workers, and my workers I can't be affording to build. So I'd probably go Karax at top. I think Artanis is bottom because his top bars are the worst. So at least with Swann and Karax, you spend a little bit of money and then you have top bars the rest of the game.
I think Karax is actually the worst because you have Unity Barrier, which makes everything.
I was going to say,
fair.
yeah, and I think Artanis has probably got better clearing.
Yeah, that's fine. We can go Karax bottom then. Is Artanis better than Swann?
One of Swann's SCVs annoyingly repair each other, and you have to manually switch off the auto repair.
That's true. That's never been an issue for me, but yes, that's true. I'm fine with this then. Yeah, I think that's good.
All right, Mr.
When
GM.
APM is so valuable.
Yeesh. Flexing with your 1v1 rankings and stuff.
Right clicking. How does he do it?
I was going to say, when you're working with the double figure APM that I am, then switching off that repair is a critical task.
That's fair. Yeah, and if you forget and then you look back 5 minutes later wondering why there's 30 kill bots, so yeah, I think this makes sense.
All right, so there we have it, guys. Oh, one more thing. Since we only have 5 commanders in A or higher, do we have combinations of B tier and below who are better than Zagara on her own?
B tier and below are better than Zagara.
I think Hot Horner plus someone who clears.
I would say Raynor plus Dehaka,
Raynor
if
plus
anything,
Dehaka.
right? Because Raynor can feed and just feed, and then Dehaka gets to just clear the whole map really quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean similar with Zeratul as well. Actually, I think like Zeratul or Tychus, if they're left to just clear the map on their own, then you're going to be off to the races. So if you pair like Dehaka with his 3 units, Raynor or anyone like that, I think you'd be laughing.
Yeah,
Is
Raynor,
it better
Dehaka
than
paired with
Zagara though?
I mean, once you have the map cleared, then I mean, it's just a question of are they just better at the basic mutation or at the basic map, really? Because I mean,
spawn camping. You mean
nobody
spawn camps better than Zagara, by the way.
That's true. Yeah, bio launchers.
No.
Yeah,
the Banelings hit faster than spider mines and toxic nests. Banelings are the best spawn camping unit in the game.
That's true. And then there's also bio launchers if you need them. But yeah, I think probably not. I think once you've gotten to that point in the game, Zagara is fully online, you're probably just
sitting
camping,
pretty.
smooth sailing, easy stuff. I mean, they're close. I think they come close, but I don't know that they're better. Tyrannosaur camping is pretty good as well, to be fair. But
you know what? Yeah, Tyrannosaur camp. So Tyrannosaur camp is also pretty good. Yes, it's true. That's true. So
Dehaka paired with like Raynor, who can do all the feeding, and then Dehaka just gets out max Tyrannosaurs and clears the map, and then
I think Hot and Horner and Dehaka is even better than Raynor and Dehaka because Hot and Horner can help Dehaka feed because of the refunds and help Dehaka clear because their airstrikers are good against buildings.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. I'm fine with that.
All right, so there we have it. Guys, hope you enjoyed that. Thank you for watching. If you have an idea for what else, please leave it in the comment. I will see you guys next time.